Hello, this is Craig Mertens, Director of Product Education for Inktavo, the parent company of InkSoft, Printavo, GraphicsFlow, and SignTracker. Welcome to InkSoft Academy. Today, we're going to be doing a class on integrating your GraphicsFlow account into your InkSoft stores and your InkSoft tools. And if you're not using GraphicsFlow, you're going to get a great exposure to what GraphicsFlow is all about. With that said, I'm going to introduce my guest here, Courtney Wumpole, broadcasting live from Buffalo, Wyoming. And Courtney is not only a coworker of mine, but she's also a customer of Inktavo. So do you want to give a quick little bio there?
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Craig. Thanks for having me. So yes, we have had a print shop for about 20 years, started in the basement, moved to a garage, and then we decided to move 2,000 miles across the country to Wyoming from Pennsylvania. So we now have a retail space, about 3,000 square feet of production. And so we use InkSoft, Printavo, and GraphicsFlow in our shop, and excited to be here and kind of share. I'm excited to learn, actually, Craig. I'm super excited for this.
And I'm always learning too. You always have such a fresh perspective from somebody that's in the trenches doing this every day. And one kind of cool thing about Courtney, if she prints something that's cool, is always a little bit of show and tell. So she'll zip over a text message or on our Slack channel and say, hey, look at this cool thing I just printed. And I love that. Being a former print shop owner, it was one of these things where, I don't know if you guys do this, Courtney, but if there's something that you're printing that you like, you throw an extra shirt on the press.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
and then I had to stop and think about how much I was doing that, because then my closet was just crazy.
Yeah, I know. I was the same way. I was famous for walking back in the screen printing department and coming out with ink on me. And I could never really figure out how, I swear I didn't touch anything, but I was always getting the old acetone gun out, spraying some form of ink off a shirt. So let me share my screen here. Where we are at, we are in a store. This is in our InkSoft demo account. And the reason I like to showcase this store, it's a really good example of some of the fun things that you can do with GraphicsFlow. And I know, Courtney, from your perspective, how important is artwork to you and to your customers?
Super important. I think people wear shirts that they want to wear because of the art, right? I think that's a huge factor. You're going to rewear a shirt because the art is cool. So it's key and super important. But I realize, too, not everyone can afford an art department. So that's kind of where we've really leaned on GraphicsFlow and InkSoft for sure.
Do you let customers know you're not an artist, or do you just take credit for it?
I don't think they really care, as long as it looks cool, right? They don't need to know. We use it a lot. In fact, actually, I think it's also great too for those customers. I had a customer come in today. This is no joke. Pickleball is huge right now, right? So There's a pickleball league in Buffalo, Wyoming. Imagine that. And they came in today and said, usually we order from that website. What is it? I order there from it because it's easy and I can just go on and
had to be custom ink,
what
right?
I want. It was custom ink. And I said, well, you're paying way too much money, first of all, but we have that same online designer capability. So you can and then I mentioned GraphicsFlow because there's a whole pickleball collection that just came out. So they think it's super cool. They love it.
You get to take credit for being the creative person. When you're taking GraphicsFlow, and I'll show you, this is a fun example you can do with GraphicsFlow. These are GraphicsFlow designs, and we'll get into GraphicsFlow and kind of show you a little bit, but I did this because I wanted to showcase how you could take a GraphicsFlow design, load it up onto a shirt in InkSoft, name drop it, save it, and then incorporate it into your store. And so these are all three GraphicsFlow designs, and if you read up here, it says, click on a shirt to add a sport. And I'll explain kind of some of the rationale behind this. I've shared this on a webinar before. I had a customer, and he was asking us how easy it was for him to deploy stores. He does a lot of work in the school market. And he said, my average store has 80 designs. Okay, so in InkSoft, that'd be pretty easy. I'll explain that in a second. But I was thinking, like 80 designs. He says, well, yeah, because I got to have football and basketball and baseball and wrestling. And I was like, so you take that one design. I said, how many designs do you really have that are unique? He says, I don't know, I have like 8. So you take those 8 designs and you do 10 sports or activities. He goes, yep. So every store you deploy, you have to do that in. He goes, yep. And I said, why don't you just make one design and let the customer do it? He goes, what do you mean? It says, you have InkSoft. So you could go in and just make that one design and just say, insert sport here, and let the customer name drop it. And when you're ready to go to production, you're going to download a production-ready vector artwork that can be screen printed. But here's the cool part. This says Eagles Forever right now, but I can change this to Cougars Forever too, and then save it as a Cougars design. So it gets even better. And so what I did is I took a graphic from GraphicsFlow, and we're going to actually show you how to do this. And I turned off the text in GraphicsFlow and saved it as a PDF file. Then what I did is I uploaded it into the InkSoft Designer, typed in a line of text that says Insert Sport right here, and then I saved it. But before I saved it, I grabbed the sharing link. And so in InkSoft, what the sharing link means, it's a direct link to this design. As long as I'm logged into the store and I click on that sharing link in a HTML block or in an image that's linked to that, it will launch this graphic in the store, and it gives the customer their own ability to save changes or get their own custom quote based on quantities and sizes and products. So in this particular case, if you wanted to go and change this to say volleyball, all you'd have to do is go in and change volleyball. And in this store, I've played around with it a little bit. I went and added just a standard screen printing color palette from InkSoft. This is one of the stock palettes. But the other thing I did is I added the actual school color palettes by Pantone numbers. So every Pantone color, if you didn't know this, has RGB equivalents. So there's an RGB formula for every Pantone. So I went into InkSoft's color management area, and I created a palette for East Eagles that has the exact Pantone colors based on the RGB values. And so that actual color palette's right here. And so I've got just kind of our standard palette, but I also have the very specific colors for the school in Pantones, which is awesome. Now, it doesn't say Pantone. It just says kind of generic colors, and probably a great question. Why doesn't it say Pantone? Because Pantone is trademarked and copyrighted, so you can't use the words Pantone or PMS without paying a fee to the good folks over at Pantone. But you can use an RGB formula and call it whatever you want. So this design right here, if the customer wanted to, localize this and make it something completely, different, maybe go to like a pink out kind of a feel, they'd have the latitude to do that. But I'm not letting them change the mascot. I'm not letting them change the design element here, Eagles Forever. That's locked because that was part of the PDF file. One of the pushback things that a lot of times, let's change this back to gold, that we'll get from clients that says, yeah, but I'm not doing one-offs, because the people that do that, they're specialized in that. They're high volume. They've got direct garment printers. I think usually they've got our DTF. A lot of times they have DTF now. And they're set
You
up
have to have
it
totally locked in for sure. You have to have everything super buttoned up.
Exactly. So here's the cool thing, because in your InkSoft, you have the ability to set up pricing rules. What you would do here is set up a pricing rule that would prompt the customer that there's a minimum order of, say, 24 or 48 pieces, whatever your comfort level is. And we know the number of colors in this design because, A, it's vector, and also InkSoft displayed the number of colors. So you could price it a variety of ways. You could price it based on a pricing rule and minimum order quantity. So you could say, hey, 48 piece minimum, and if you order, this store, I think if you order one, it's like $26 or something. Here, let's get a price. I think it's pretty spendy. Yeah, $24.82. But when I go to 100, it's just into screen printing pricing, and it knows the number of colors in the design. So now when I get a price, it's giving me screen printing prices. So you get to control all of that. But one of the things that I'll see customers do, and I think this is pretty clever, is they'll set just a standard retail price. What would you sell this shirt for in your store?
20 to 25, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I would say, in Scottsdale where I live, you could get away with 30. I think in, Main Street, USA, I think $20 to $25 is a fair price. I think I would agree. I'd probably settle at around $22.
Yeah.
And that would be maybe the price we established, but you wouldn't have to let them choose a price configurator when you do this. What you could do is set the product up to include printing. So in the product, you'd set it up to include printing, and then you just make it a flat rate of $22. So it doesn't matter whatever they put in here, it's $22. And coincidentally, that would probably match up with the pre-printed merchandise that you're selling in the store too. And it's a pretty good practice. But the basic idea here is we have all that flexibility in terms of pricing, but I don't have to go and create 80 designs. I can just create one. And if you look at all the combinations, this store is kind of interesting because I created quite a few different designs here. I'm just going to select this and hit delete. And I'm going to go over here to add art. And I did a couple things in here that I think are best practices and, kind of clever, I guess you'd say, is if you go over here and go to browse design ideas, I created my own category of designs from GraphicsFlow here. And I think I have 9 or 10. There's 10 designs in here. So These are just specific to the school, and it is super easy to localize these for different schools in GraphicsFlow. So this doesn't take very long at all. And then the other thing I did is I just wanted to limit the stock InkSoft designs to just sports related and mascot things. So the only categories I enabled for this store were a banner category over here. I created some banners. I did some, generic t-shirt designs. And then we've got just the traditional, standard InkSoft designs. And I could have turned off a whole bunch of these sports. Being able to give that customer that self-service experience. And Courtney, I'm sure you have customers that come in, it's like that one you were talking about today that just have no clue as to what they want. And they've been on custom ink and they screen grab it and they go, can you do this? What do you tell those folks?
So a couple tips for whoever's watching this, how we've kind of structured it is a lot of times they come to you with that custom ink design or that Etsy screenshot or whatever it is before that you can get to them. So if that's the case, I say, hey, yes, we can recreate this. And then usually it's for like a handful of pieces. It's a small order. So I'll just kind of take whatever that art charge is and divide it out over the shirt and then kind of include it into the price. But then I also give them the option of, hey, yes, we can do this. It'll be a little bit more money. Or here's GraphicsFlow or here's InkSoft. If you go on and use these and create your own design, we can knock 5% off the order or whatever. And so it gives them an incentive to go and use the tools instead of me having to take the time to recreate. And then I don't have to say no to the order. I can say yes to the order, but it's not time away from my art department for them to be doing things that they actually need the art department for. So that's been really successful for sure.
That's so incredibly smart. And I talked to a client. It was really kind of a sticky situation. She was they were an InkSoft client, and she was kind of running the business side of the operation. Her husband did all of the art. And he was an artist and fine artist. I mean, he could draw, brilliant work, really super talented. I was on their site. I was looking at the graphics. I was like, this is a very talented person. And she said, hey, I appreciate that my husband's really talented and he can do this, but he's got to stop doing this for the 24 and 48 piece orders. We are honestly losing money on this. And we're wanting to grow the business and scale. I don't want to hire another artist. That doesn't make any sense. So she goes, you have to talk to him and convince him that GraphicsFlow is a good idea. When I talked to him, I had these preconceived notions of how the conversation was going to go down. And I thought he was going to be really resistant. What I realized is it was a lifeline to him. He said, hey, Craig, I just can't help myself. It's like, I don't have another choice. So if they come to me and they have something they found online, I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to go and make something awesome for them. And it says, obviously it makes me feel good, but he says, I know it drives my partner nuts and I know it's not sustainable. And I could see where GraphicsFlow would probably make some sense. And I said, yeah, I think it would make a lot of sense. But let me give you another idea. And I would recommend all of you do this. And Courtney, you probably have a whole bunch of art sitting around that you're proud of, right? Stuff that you did that's really cool.
Yeah.
What you can do with your GraphicsFlow account is you can create a gallery. So I'm just hopping over to GraphicsFlow real quick. Here's that smiley face you're looking for.
These are so in right now. And I was like, does GraphicsFlow? I didn't go in and check, but I asked Craig. I went right to the source, and there they are.
I commissioned an artist to create these years ago. And
love that.
Yeah, I think there's a couple hundred of them.
I'm going to put a cowgirl hat on one of them and sell them here in the store.
Maybe there is a cow. There's every theme with known to man here.
See, there you go. Now I can do it myself. Sales enablement tool. I have zero artistic bone in my body. I can tell you what I like, and when I see it.
So this is what I told the customer to do. I said, hey, listen, go into GraphicsFlow. So the first thing you need to do is upload your art. But I said, just upload a bunch of your designs. If you got Illustrator files, PDF files, doesn't matter. Just upload them. GraphicsFlow will create these beautiful previews of file formats that you can't create a preview for in Windows or Mac. It just creates these beautiful high-resolution previews. And then what you can do is you can just add them to an art approval. So here, let's just select all of these. Why not? And then I'll just say, hey, add it to an art approval. You can just send them a link to this gallery, and they could see examples of your work. So all I really have to do is just go curate my art. I said, yeah, that's it. But why recreate the wheel? You've already created those designs. And he said, probably the way you're wired is by the time you get done, doing your thing, they're not going to really look the same anyways, but you got this huge head start. So I gave him the idea. He was all excited about it. And you never know how these things work out in the wild. So I wanted to find out the end of the story. So what I ended up doing is I call him back. It was maybe a couple months later. I just asked, hey, how's it going? He goes, this has changed my life. And I go, what do you mean? He said, here's the thing. I don't have to, let's turn these watermarks off. I don't have to create all this custom art now. So here's what I figured out. I can tell my customers, kind of like what you were saying, Courtney, it says, I can tell my customers, hey, if you want me to copy this image or create something from scratch, I can do that. But we have a minimum art charge of $75. That gives you 2 hours of my time, which is very reasonable by art department rates. And it takes me, I usually have to have 5 to 7 working days to get something in front of you. And if there's a revision, I'll give you one revision, but if there's another revision, I got to charge you another $75. He says average fees on one of these is usually about, at the minimum, $75, at the most, sometimes $200-$300, depending on how much time it takes me to build. Yeah, I'm going to send you over a couple galleries of things I've done before for other people. If you pick one of those out and you want me to modify that, I don't have to charge any art charges for that. I need a couple days to get it put together. But better yet, I'm going to send you a link to my art portal where we've got thousands of designs. And if you pick one from there and you submit a design request, I can have something back to you same day. And you don't have to wait for me. I don't have to charge you any art charges. You get immediate gratification. And, I'm sitting here like taking notes while he's telling me this, because that is the perfect way to utilize the platform. And so if we kind of step back into that InkSoft store again, let's take a look at kind of the other side of that particular equation. And what we've been doing is we've included the GraphicsFlow art portal into this store. And so the art portal is a tool that allows you to give your customers an interactive experience. And I always like to explain it like this. Courtney, you were talking about like that custom ink experience, right? Mm-hmm. And why customers go to custom ink, or why the thing that really drives me is when I hear customers saying, I just send my customers to the internet to find something. Don't do that, right? They're going to find your competitor. They're going to find somebody like Courtney. They're going to stumble across Courtney's art portal, and she's going to be, thanks for the referral. Reviewing your accounts, you notice this person hasn't purchased in a while. Well, the reason they haven't purchased in a while, they found somebody that made it easier to purchase from. And that's probably where they went. So in my opinion, and I don't know if you found this to be true, Courtney, how important is it to make it easy for people to purchase from you?
Super easy. That guy literally told me the reason that he uses custom ink is because it's easy. The other thing I think is with InkSoft, the ability to create these, and we're not talking about GraphicsFlow here, but the ability to create the online stores for customers and for it to be easy for them. I keep telling people, if you don't have InkSoft, one of your competitors does, and your entire business with that customer is going to be walking away because someone else is making it easier for your customer, and they're going to be gone. And it's just kind of the reality of where we're at with e-commerce right now.
Absolutely. I think the pandemic shifted consumer buying habits, and it's been my observation that the younger buyers, they just don't want to have to talk to a salesperson. They don't really feel like they need to go into Main Street USA and chat with somebody. Me, I'm going to go in, if I'm buying a bike, I'm going to go to the bike shop and where I've got a relationship with the owner and, test drive a bike. And, my kids, they're probably just going to go online and buy something. And so meeting the customer at their comfort level where their consumer purchasing preferences are is really important. And that's, I think, where GraphicsFlow works so nicely with InkSoft, because there's two ways to do that, right? Way number one is to send them to the designer and have them hack away. And I can tell you this right now, a 40-ish year old lacrosse coach is not going to want to be the designer. And they're probably not going to want the kids going and designing something, because the kids will come up with some crazy outrageous thing and then they'll have to play chaperone, which is no fun. What I would do with that particular situation, I'd say, hey, listen, go to my main store. I have a thing that says Art Portal. Click on it. And the first thing you're going to see is a bunch of fun designs that we've done for other people in your area, because you can add your own designs to Art Portal, which is what I've done here. And then if you just click on the little drop down and go to all design ideas, you guys can just search. So you guys are a soccer team. So you can go in there and just look for soccer, but don't limit yourself to soccer, because any of these soccer designs can be changed to volleyball or vice versa. So what you might want to do is just go down to style, and you can give the customer instructions and say, go down to style, and maybe they want to look at collegiate designs, or maybe they want to look at things that are just super athletic or oriented towards spirit wear. I says, just find something you connect with that you like. Don't worry about the colors or the text or the fonts, just like the layout. You find the layout, you can do that. You can go look through fonts. If you find a font you'd rather have me work with, do that. So you're giving this direction to the customer and you're collaborating with them. And here's the magic. Once you start to collaborate with the customer on artwork, they're yours because they're not getting it anywhere else. And then what ends up happening, I think, is customers learn to lean on you as a creative resource. And have you found that? Have you had that experience in your business too?
Yeah, 100%. A lot of the customers, depending on who it is, they don't want to do it themselves in InkSoft or whatever design. So like, yes, it's great. We can go in and change it, but a lot of them don't have the time to do it. And so
Right.
I think, Craig, when we talk about e-commerce too, it doesn't mean that you're never talking to your customer, right? You still want to be providing that value added service to them. And so that's where GraphicsFlow is great because it allows you to be able to interact with them still, but they're not having to do everything on their own. You can say, hey, what do you like? What looks good to you? So it's a great middle ground.
I agree. And I think one of the things that we've done recently that I'm really excited about is this ability to go in and add your own artwork to your GraphicsFlow art portal. I can put virtual samples in here. So I went and created, just some Richardson 112s with some patch layouts on them. These are all GraphicsFlow artwork. And what I did is I brought these into my drawings embroidery software. And this GraphicsFlow design. I had it converted to embroidery. This was so great. I did tighten up the stitches on this so that the 3D rendering looked really well. And so what I actually did is I deleted this part of the text. I actually saved a version of the file that didn't have this text. This is live. I can keyboard this. And I saved this as a PNG file. Actually went into the InkSoft Designer and mocked it up, and then I screen grabbed it. And then I took that screen grab and I uploaded it to GraphicsFlow. Think about the cycle here. Created graphics in GraphicsFlow, saved it as a PDF file, converted it to embroidery in my embroidery software, saved a PNG file, put it on a product in the Rapid Product Creator in InkSoft, and then loaded it into GraphicsFlow. And then full circle, customer comes in here and orders it. Guess what? I already have the art done. And that font is a keyboard font. So I can just highlight the text and type in the new text there. I don't have any work in terms of digitizing. It's just a name drop. Sprinkling in a little flavor of local flavor in here, I think is generally really smart, which is what I did in this store. But when the customer comes in and they fill out a design request here and they submit that request, it's just going to come into my GraphicsFlow account as a design request. And from there, I can just pick up the design and name drop it right in GraphicsFlow. So I think, meeting that customer at their preference in terms of, picking out artwork, I think that's a great middle ground. And it's been my experience that customers will generate more business from directing people to the portal to pick out graphics than they do from just kind of random self-service people stumbling across their website. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I would agree. When we were redoing our actual landing page for our website, when I kind of showed our web developer kind of hey, do we want to embed the InkSoft Designer? Do we want to embed the GraphicsFlow? He was so thrilled about the GraphicsFlow portal. The ability for them to go on and look and see, we ultimately have both on there, but it's really, and I've seen a lot of cool ones too, Craig, on some of our showcase stores for other shops where they have a really cool banner that they put on their landing page. It says thousands of free designs. I don't know which one off the top of my head that is, but they make it like, free art, because everyone thinks about, art is so expensive as a customer. Oh my gosh, like I can't afford a graphic designer. I can't. But when you can leverage this and then get them into your shop because of that, it's huge. It's one of these. I forget which one it is.
Yeah, you know what? So many of our customers have done what I think really creative things using the art portal. But then when you see what customers do, it's like, hey, this is cool. Nice little banner there, big text. It's just very prominent, just kind of sitting there in your store, so to speak. So I think, sky's the limit. And in InkSoft, it's so easy to do a portal. We're going to actually show you how to do one so you know how to incorporate that in. But this is just a really easy thing to do.
Pro tip there. Don't let those banners scare you. Grab a Canva account or something like that, and you can make banners all day.
You don't have to be a pro graphics person to create a banner in Canva. Hero banner makes a load of difference on a store. It's the first thing you see. It really needs to grab your attention. Kind of heading back to the store. So I'll show you a couple other kind of neat things that we did in this store, and then we'll show you how to set this up yourself. So in this store, I took that Richardson patch, and we talked about exporting that PNG file with the 3D embroidery. So then I imported the file into the InkSoft Designer. I didn't have the text, as I omitted the text. Then I went in here and added the text so they can go and name drop this to whatever they want. And then I've got the corresponding font, same font, over in my embroidery software. So that's keyboard typable. Just type it in. I don't know about you, Courtney, but I can't really tell that's not embroidery. I don't think it needs to be embroidery. And in the, if you look what I did in the actual section there, what I kind of called that out. I just said, the customized lettering on the finished product will be embroidered. And I just did a regular just embroidery file there too. And that's just a PNG rendering. And then the last thing I did in this store is these two signs. And this was an idea I got from a customer. She had emailed me. She was on one of our webinars and she said, hey, listen, I sell these grad signs. And what I normally do on these grad signs is I just have a little field that I use to pick up the personalization where they can type in. I'll show you her website. You can kind of see what she's doing. It says, I want to make these live and I want to do a banner and I want to do just an 18 by 24 Coral plot. And so I showed her how to set this up, where we just took this 18 by 24 graduation class layout from GraphicsFlow, and I showed her how to, you can go in here and change it to whatever you want. They can go in and the kids can just check out and order these. This was, I thought, a really clever usage of the InkSoft Designer and GraphicsFlow. And then she was like, well, then how do I do the banner? So I ended up showing her how to do the banner, same thing. But her site is in that gallery that I showed you guys.
Business cards is another great example of that. I have these customers that hire these salespeople every week, it feels like, and they need another set of cards with different name and phone number. So finally I said, margin's too small, you go do it. I'm not doing it anymore.
Brokering on cards, like say you went through 4 Over or somebody like that, you can make good money on cards because it's that point of convenience, that one-stop shop. So here's the way she was doing it is you would just click on it, and then you have a personalization field. You find that people want to be a little bit more creative and maybe drop their own font in there, be a little bit more creative. And so this one, she didn't lock it down. The one I did is very locked down. They can only just basically add a name, but she's letting them go for it here. If they want to, they can have it say whatever they want. I think that's another really good kind of a use case of GraphicsFlow and InkSoft together. Kind of recapping, we have the art portal in here. We have these interactive designs in here. Well, I created these patch layouts, all GraphicsFlow designs. These layouts here, and I created those 10 name-droppable designs, and some banners were all created in GraphicsFlow. Oh yeah, and all the logos for the website were all created in GraphicsFlow. Everything pretty much here. So let's kind of get into the nuts and bolts of it, and we'll show you kind of how this would actually work and how I'd set some of this stuff up. And when you first log into GraphicsFlow, if you're on InkSoft, doesn't matter what level of InkSoft you're on, but if you're on InkSoft, you're going to be put into a GraphicsFlow Elite account. So you're automatically going to get upgraded to a GraphicsFlow Elite account. So you're going to have all the full feature set, including the ability to customize these designs in the stock art customizer, as well as that art portal functionality. When you first log in to GraphicsFlow, you're going to see the design ideas. And like any other Windows or Mac program, you can use your scroll button to, if you want to have bigger thumbnails, it's a web app. Looks great on a phone, by the way, or a tablet. And so you have all the design ideas, then followed by clip art. And this is what we call production-ready clip art. So let's say you're a little old school, and I can say that now, and you had a vinyl cutter and you need to cut some of these files out on your cutter. They're all vinyl ready. There's no intersecting paths. These files are all color separated. If you type in tiger and you need a tiger mascot, you're actually going to get tiger mascots that look authentic, look like they're not going to be these like AI generated fantasy looking graphics. This looks like an old school, 1950s PE uniform mascot, very vintage. And that's what it should look like because that's what it was designed to look like. It was a 1950s PE uniform mascot.
I think the AI generated art is our next hurdle as shops to overcome, because I've started to see some of it come in, and we used to have to explain why we can't recreate a custom screenshot or print something that's not vector. It's been really difficult. I don't know if anyone else has experienced that, but to try and explain that concept to the customer.
Yeah, I think that's the big challenge with AI is that it can create some really neat things, and I'm a fan, but it doesn't necessarily create things that are relatable on a t-shirt graphic, like an old school vintage look. The production readiness, if you have to screen print it, you're looking at a, 8-color simulated process job. And for DTF transfers, sometimes the resolution's not quite there. when you're doing DTF transfers, you can't have any like shadowing or gradients or anything that's not solid. These AI generated files, and they just don't even work. So, and you don't have the original art, so it's not like you can go back into Photoshop and move layers around and stuff like that. But with that being said, this is all production ready clip art, and it looks like it belongs on a t-shirt. And to me, that's one of my favorite all-time images that we've ever done. And so you have all this clip art, and then you have all your fonts too. And good t-shirt designs and good signs always start with good fonts. And that doesn't mean there aren't a bazillion great freeware fonts for some of these websites. There are. But the thing is, there are some very specialized fonts that are just kind of industry standard athletic fonts. I just favorited these because I was always looking for these athletic fonts and my sports script when I was doing templates, when I was editing templates. So I just favorited these, and I went in and favorited some mascot clip art that I use pretty frequently because I usually use Cougars or Eagles when I'm doing demos. And then I think I favorited some football designs in here too. And the neat thing is you can favorite designs now of your own art as well, too. I just favorited these 3 designs in here. And you can pull up favorites when you edit templates with the stock art customizer, too, and we'll show you that in a little bit. GraphicsFlow in its purest form is a content distribution system. First thing I'm doing is setting up my art portal. And if I go into my art portal, this is a generic page right here. So my standard portal, if I don't embed it, I can change the colors, drop a logo in. I can put in sub logos in here. I can do all kinds of kind of fun things in terms of customizing this, but it's its own web page and it's standalone. And sometimes it just makes sense to send this page out. You don't have to send them to your store. You could actually just send this page out. But with that being said, you can also embed this. And so if I go into settings in my art portal settings, a couple things, I can decide what categories are going to be displayed. And I can hide keywords. So notice I hid all my pickleball designs. I just use that as an example.
Is that just a coincidence? I'm not joking. He came in today asking for pickleball stuff.
If you went to my art portal, you would find nothing for pickleball. But I'm going to turn that off. We just enabled the pickleball designs. And you can enable clip art and fonts. And you can add your own art assets. You can go click on a design in your My Art or in your stock designs and add them to the portal. So they're specialized, and you get to decide if you want to display. The first thing you see is displaying your art, your featured designs from your stuff, or our art from our general designs, which are going to be displayed by default by newest to last. So the newest stuff will always be right on top. And then I added a contact us button and a need help button. So contact us is just another form. Need help displays a movie on how to use the art portal. And then I added a couple custom fields. So I went in here and added a tell us about your design request field, and I added pick a sales rep field that gets asked for quite frequently.
And for some of you shops, hey, I would love to use this, but I need more information about the order or that kind of thing. This is like a great sales enablement tool for you guys, a great way to kind of bridge the gap between shop software and needing to have something where they have that approval stamp on it.
It's interesting you said that, Courtney, because I had a customer point this out. It was an InkSoft customer. And he pointed this out. And he was like, when I do an InkSoft proposal, which you can use an InkSoft proposal as an art approval, right? And he said, I got to put product in there, and I'm forced to put pricing in it. It's not really an art approval tool. You could use it for that. But he said, when I use GraphicsFlow, I don't have to put any product or pricing in there. I can put a virtual sample in there if I want to, but I don't have to. So I don't have to have that pricing conversation until after the customer falls in love with the artwork. And that really resonated with me. I love the idea of having the customer connect with the artwork first, so they know they have to get it from me, and I'm not getting beat up over price. Because, how do you deal with that? Like, if customer, they want the best custom artwork, but they also want the best price, what do you tell people?
Yeah, so like speed to lead in sales is so important too. So 2 things. This allows me as the salesperson with no art experience or limited art experience to get something in front of them with a price if you want to, right, in conjunction with a Printavo or an InkSoft or whatever, however you price things. Or you start with the art and then you go from there, because I'm sure if we were all in a physical room together and I said, how many of you raise your hand have had the experience where, you quote a price and then the art comes back as not what you quoted and it wastes everyone's time. This is going at it from that opposite way so that you're not wasting time.
Because we all know customers don't value your time as much as you do, for sure. So once we get everything set up, the important thing here is we're gonna, and you can change the colors of your stock art portal. This is the portal that's just the link you sent out. It's its own standalone page. We're not interested in incorporating that into InkSoft. We're interested is this right here, which is embed code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that embed code, and I'm going to go back to my InkSoft store. I'm going to show you how I set this up, but it's called a content block. And so what I would do is go over here to the style editor. So I just created a page. I called it Art Portal. I'm going to go and edit that page, and we're going to delete this portal right here. And so if I click on this right now and delete it right here, there's nothing there. So how I got to this point is I went to the little plus button, but I'm going to go over here and click on content block. And all I have to do, it's pretty straightforward. I just go in here and say code view, paste the code in, and then hit done. Now here's where it gets kind of fun. So then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hop into the free version of ChatGPT now, and I'm just going to say add a caption that says on a design and submit an art request. Then I'll say use 30 point. So I just paste that code in there, and then we'll let ChatGPT do its little thing here. It writes the code, and then it tells you what it did. So I'll just say copy code, and then we'll just paste that in here, and then we'll hit done, and there you go. And the cool part about this is now if you go back to manage content, you can actually edit all this stuff too.
Oh, wow.
So if you want to, like I want to probably make that blue, but it's just like a huge head start. And you can do all kinds of crazy things with ChatGPT. And if you're interested in that, go to inksoft.com, scroll down, hit the link for YouTube, and then go to the InkSoft Academy archive, which is where this recording will reside. You can watch a whole 1 hour webinar on using AI and InkSoft stores. This is how you get your art portal into your store. And since the bigger question I always get is like, Craig, how did you do that thing where you had it create that design where I could just bed that design into my store? This is the way you're going to do it. I'm going to go into GraphicsFlow, and I'm going to use the stock art customizer. And let's do something fresh and new, kind of like this Knights golf design. That's kind of cool. And so all I'm going to do is just click on this, and I'm going to click on Customize. And we're staying kind of on that eagle theme here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to hit Replace. And I'm going to go into filter, and I'm going to filter by favorites so I can pull up an eagle. I think I'm going to go this kind of helmet decal style looking one. We're going to say apply. So we're going to apply that eagle. Take this color right here, make it the brown, because now we're just consolidating colors. And these aren't going to be the colors we're done with. Let's see, let's do the beige, this light beige right there. So now the colors are kind of merged up. So we'll make the eagle a little bigger, and then I'll nudge the eagle over. This is not hard for anybody regardless of skill set. What we're going to do now is I'm just going to go back here to view layers. Let's see, I'm going to turn off golf. So I'm just going to mute that. We don't need that. And we're going to turn off this, and we're going to turn off that. And I'm just going to change this to say eagles. So next thing I'm going to do is go down here and localize these colors. So we've been using this color. I've been using this athletic, kind of orangey athletic gold 123 Pantone. And wow, that's pretty intense. And then I've been using this 289 navy over here. It might be cool to ghost in a color where that golf ball is in like a gray. That might be fun. So we'll either love it or we'll hate it. So I'm just going to go over here, just color the golf ball. And I'm going to kind of go with like a medium gray. I don't know. What do you think, Courtney?
I like it.
Yeah, I do too. Let's call it East Eagles 10. Why not? And one of the smart things about naming it East Eagles 10 is I can search by East and Eagles just if I'm doing a file name search. And so we'll save it in here. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to download a PDF file of this. So PDF file can be vector or bitmap, but in this case, it's vector. So this whole graphic is vector. You could cut this in vinyl. You could color separate it for screen printing. You can do all that. So I'm just going to save this in my downloads folder, and let's make it into a live template in InkSoft. This is the trick to the whole deal. You got to log in as an admin. So you got to be in your account. So in your account, and you're going to go into your store, this particular store. You're going to go into the East Eagles store. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to create. And in this case, I'm just going to put it on this Ash t-shirt. Customer can change the colors of the shirt. They can change all that. But I'm just going to say design now, and then I'm going to upload that PDF file. So I'm just going to go to my downloads folder. Here's that PDF. And because it's already vector, InkSoft is going to, it does look really good. InkSoft's going to parse out the colors. So picks up the colors perfectly. Now, super clever. In this store, I have the official palette for East Eagles in this store. So it's going to match to those colors. So that's another benefit of adding that custom palette in there. But if we did want to make that look a little darker, which I think we do, yeah, we can do that. And so let's finish this up. So I'm just going to go over here to add text. And then I'm just going to type in, and we'll make this that same gold, I think, or white. Gold, I think gold. And then we'll just say insert sport. Then really all I have to do here is just come down here and drop that in there like that. Now, if I wanted to drop in like CHS or another line in here, we could do that. And I can match up the fonts. And here's the cool thing. The fonts in GraphicsFlow are the same as the fonts in InkSoft. So you gotta grab that link, copy it. And I got Notepad open here. Go to the next step right here and just go to next. And when you go to next, just click on this. And then you can screen grab it. So I use the built-in screen grabber in Windows, but Mac has the same thing. And so I'm just going to screen grab this real quick, because this is going to be the image I'm going to click on to initiate the design edit right there. And I'm just going to save that as a PNG file. Anytime you're bringing in bitmap files in InkSoft, PNG is the way to go. And PDF is the way to go for vector files. Why is PDF better? Because it's not version sensitive. And there's a lot of different flavors of SVG files, and you can run into some weird things or colors dropping out sometimes. And then let's make this live in InkSoft. What I would do is I would use that content block again. So I need to make sure that I'm logged into that same store, and I need to make sure that I go to Style Editor. I'll just add it above here just so you guys can see how we do it. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to grab a new content block. And by default, this is going to go at the bottom. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to import that PNG image. I'm going to say insert image, and I'm going to import it right there. And I can size it up or down if I'm in here, but I need to have that sharing link. Don't click on this to insert a link, because then it'll display the text. But we don't want to display the text. What we want to do is have the link on the shirt. So you just come over here and then highlight it. Then click this, and that way you don't have to put any text in here, and then just put that in there, insert, hit done, and then let's save and publish. But if you want to test it now, all you got to do is just go over here and go back to storefront view, and then you can test it, and just click on it, and there you go. If you go to the InkSoft YouTube channel and click on best practices, if you want to be a real power user and really get the most out of your InkSoft experience, go to that best practices YouTube playlist. If you want to really take it even a step further, what I did to make these a little more interesting is I imported 3 images, and the way the formatting stacked them automatically. So what I did in here is I just went into the style editor and I copied this right here, this HTML code, and I went over to ChatGPT and I had a prompt, align images horizontally and add caption and add links. I went in and used this prompt in ChatGPT to do all the alignments. And the neat thing is that in here, you can still go in and hack the HTML. So if you wanted to change the gap here and make them a little closer and change that to 10 pixels, you can do that. Get your art portal added in, play around with this, set up some designs. If you're in your InkSoft dashboard, you can always go to what we call the core features of InkSoft. So you can always zip over there. So I'm going to go over here to InkSoft Core, and I'm going to go over to the artwork section. So I just created a category, East Eagles design, and I went and assigned these graphics to that category. So how did I do that? Anytime you save a design in InkSoft, it's automatically going to sail into like an uncategorized status. When I first pop into art, it's just sitting right here. So really all I have to do is go over here and just say, okay, I want to put that in the East Eagles store. So we're going to put it in the East Eagles booster store. And the category I want to slide that into is the East Eagles booster category, which I think is this East Eagles design. That's it. And then really all I have to do here is just say save. I can put notes in here about the design too if I want to, but I'm just going to hit save. And then when they go to the InkSoft Designer and they go into the design category, this design is going to be in there. The way you would check it is you just go to the designer, just go over here to design now and go to add art, browse design ideas, see if it made it in there yet. There is. And it's the first one in the list. It looks really good, actually. So customer can just click on that. That's what I wanted to go through today is GraphicsFlow is this incredible tool for allowing that enables you to bust out graphics really quick, makes you look like a world-class artist. Files are production ready. You can take those files, adapt them, put them into InkSoft and make them editable. You can set up your art portal to kind of facilitate that collaboration with your customers on art. And anything else you'd like to add, Courtney, but based on your experience with GraphicsFlow and InkSoft together?
No, it's great. It just the time that it saves you, right? It's not meant to take the place of, your high level designers. It's just meant to make your life easier and really to get those quotes and those leads and those customers close faster. So it's super easy. Makes me look good.
Best of both worlds. So you work with an outsourced graphic design team, and then you use GraphicsFlow to do the stuff yourself, and you play around in Illustrator and your CorelDRAW a little bit too. I think using all three of those strategies is really the perfect way to manage your art department. And, GraphicsFlow is a really important part of that. So hopefully everybody enjoyed the webinar today. Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you, Courtney, for filling in and sharing your experience.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And we will see you on the next Graphics Academy.